welcome. This is Your Mac Life for Wednesday, December the 3rd, 2014, show number 1035. Thanks very much for joining me here on the show, whether you're tuned in live or listening to the archive during your week. Hopefully all of my American friends and all of our American listeners had a good Thanksgiving. It was safe and happy and fun and enjoyable. On tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com about iOS and CyberMonday. Apparently, the vast majority of mobile sales this past Monday, and probably for the rest of the holiday buying season, Christmas buying season, will be done on iOS devices. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about why that is. Why do you think it is? Why do you think so many people do so much shopping on their iOS devices, whether it be the iPad or an iPhone? Is it easier? Is it set up better? Do merchants have better apps? Do they have better websites? Are iOS users wealthier? Or are they more willing to spend money? Or are they more trusting of online shopping? I don't know. Let's ask those questions. If you have any opinions, send them off to me at Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com or to our on-air email address, onair at yourmaclifeshow.com. We're also going to talk a little bit later on in the show in the Starting Point Photography segment about this cool little device from the folks at Nova Photos. Hang on, let me make sure it's at Photos, not Photo. Photos, novaphotos.com. It's a really neat little, look how thin that is. It's wafer thin. It's mint thin. You know, they say you can put it in your wallet. I got no wallet. I can put this in. I wouldn't put it in a wallet anyway. What it is an off-camera flash Bluetooth for your iPhone and or iOS device. It's actually kind of cool. We'll talk about that on the Starting Point Photography segment later on in the show. So, we were talking last week about Thanksgiving. And I was curious to know if any other countries besides Canada and the U.S. celebrate Thanksgiving. And somebody, coincidentally, I think the next day, the folks at vox.com posted a story about the 5 countries besides America that celebrate Thanksgiving. One of them, obviously, being Canada. What I didn't know, and I find kind of hard to believe, that according to this website and others, Canada has been celebrating Thanksgiving, or our version thereof, longer than America has. I always thought the Canadian Thanksgiving was just a reflection of not only the American Thanksgiving, but our earlier harvest season. Thanksgiving is a harvest festival. And because of the weather here in Canada, and our winters happen sooner, our harvest happens sooner, a month sooner. So I thought that's what it was. But it turns out the first American Thanksgiving so-called feast was celebrated by the Pilgrims and Native Americans, Wampanoags, I'm probably saying that wrong, in 1621. But Canadians have been celebrating Thanksgiving, well, not Canadians per se, since the 1578 voyage of Arthur Frobisher. For those of you who know your Canadian geography, you'll recognize the name Frobisher Bay, a British explorer who threw a meal for his crew when they barely made it to Canadian shores alive. I didn't know that. I had no idea. Now, everything else about Canadian Thanksgiving and American Thanksgiving is the same, except for the day it falls on. Not only is it a month earlier, but it's on a Monday officially, which is kind of cool because what that means is that a lot of folks will take the Friday off and get a 4-day long weekend. But then folks have two Thanksgiving. They have Thanksgiving Sunday and Thanksgiving Monday. And depending on your family and your situation, you may celebrate it twice. You may celebrate on Sunday. You may celebrate on Monday. It's convenient for, in our unfortunate late 20th century, early 21st century lifestyles and extended families, that you can often have, a lot of us are parents of divorce, and you can have Thanksgiving with one parent and then the next day have Thanksgiving with the other parent. Or Thanksgiving with one set of grandparents and Thanksgiving with the other set of grandparents. So it's kind of neat that way. But there are also other countries. Liberia, the country of Liberia, also celebrates a Thanksgiving that is, it celebrates it same style as the American Thanksgiving, with obviously Liberian or African foods. And this is something I didn't know either. One town in the Netherlands celebrates an American-style Thanksgiving. And I didn't know this. It was because the Pilgrims, I always thought the Pilgrims left Britain and came to America. They didn't. They left Britain and went to the Netherlands. This little town called Leiden, the city of Leiden. There's an annual Thanksgiving celebration on the same day as American Thanksgiving. The Pilgrims took shelter from English religious persecution in Leiden from 1609 to 1620. And in 1620, they left for the colonies. I did not know that. Leiden, Dave D. Thank you very much, Dave D. He points out, is Leiden. The Caribbean country of Grenada celebrates a Thanksgiving in odd celebration of the American liberation, invasion, depending on which way you want to put it, of that country in the early 80s and in 1983. And the Australian territory of Norfolk Island also celebrates an American-style Thanksgiving, except they do it with, obviously, South Pacific foods. They celebrate Thanksgiving the last Wednesday of every November, when they eat, as Vox says, an insane array of banana dishes, mashed bananas, banana pilaf, bananas baked into bread, green bananas and cream, and dried bananas. There's also roast pork, chicken, and other local specialties. That sounds good. I like me some bananas. I think that'd be yummy. Mosquito says, we had an anti-Thanksgiving. So schlepping down to South Jersey to my father-in-law. We told him to haul his blah, blah up so we could buy him a steak dinner on the day after. Yeah, Dave D, I like roast pork. And I'm not a big turkey guy. As I said in last week's show, I like ham. My Christmas and Thanksgiving celebrations always have ham with them, not so much turkey. I think, and it's not because of dry turkey, because my mom made great turkey. Just always been a pork fan, a ham fan when I was a kid. Otherwise, I think everything else, Canadian, I don't know if there's any Canadian Thanksgiving traditions that are uniquely Canadian. Oh, there is. And I don't know if this is not a Thanksgiving tradition. I just found out this recently. Butter tarts are a Canadian thing. I didn't know that. You know what a butter tart is? Do a search for butter tarts, and you'll find out what those are for our American friends. That's something that we had at Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think that's the only other thing. And we have all the usual veggies that Americans have. We have the same turkeys that Americans have. We have the same mashed potatoes and cranberries and corn and peas and carrots and all that kind of stuff that you guys have down there in the States too. So I don't think, I'm trying to think if there's anything particularly unusual about the Canadian version of Thanksgiving, and there really isn't. One thing that we talk about all the time, every year around this time, is the idea of Christmas gift cards, whether they are okay or not. And there's an interesting story I posted up on The Loop. I'm buying people gift cards for Christmas, and you should too. We'll talk about that a little more in the show. But again, on air at yourmaclifeshow.com. What are your thoughts on gift cards? You like getting them? One of the problems is that we often get gift cards to places we're never going to shop at. Like, I don't mind getting Starbucks gift cards because I know I'm going to use those. But I remember one Christmas, someone gave me a gift card to Home Depot when I was down in the States. Thanks, but I don't go into Home Depot. I don't even have tools, let alone use tools. I'm a danger to myself and others if I ever use tools. I'm incompetent when it comes to mechanical stuff. So yeah, the only time I've ever gone to Home Depot is with someone else who needed to get something, and I was just wandering in there with them. Home Depot scares the hell out of me. Now, the person you want to give Home Depot gift cards to, Sly. Sly's the mechanic. Sly loves putting stuff together and taking stuff apart and using tools and all that kind of stuff. But me, no. So that's the problem. If you get gift cards to a place you're never going to shop at, then it's kind of pointless. What about the idea of just straight up cash? Would you be offended if someone gave you straight up cash? Now, I'm not talking about your wife or your husband or your significant other or that kind of stuff. Yeah, that would be offensive if they gave you, unless you asked for it, straight up cash. Is getting a gift card from a significant other offensive? I know a lot of women think that's because men are lazy. But a lot of times it's not because we're lazy. We don't know what else to get you. So we think it, we want to get you something that you want, but we don't want to disappoint you either. So rather than get you something that we don't know if you don't like or not, in a guy's head, we think, hey, I'll give her the gift card and then she can pick out exactly what she wants. That's the way it works in our heads. Women think that it's because men are lazy and can't be bothered. And yeah, some guys will do that, but a lot of us are like, I don't want to piss her off. I don't want to get her mad at me that I didn't get the right thing. So here, go get the right thing for yourself. Sly says Shawn doesn't know what tools are. I can recognize tools. I just don't use them. They scare me. I hurt myself with tools on a regular basis. Siri, shut up. Did I say, hey, Siri? I don't think I did. She just woke up on me. D. Martin, Shawn needs motorcycle tune-up gift cards. Now that I could use. Whole shot. Prefer cash. Now see, I don't mind cash. Because I can use cash. I can use cash to buy food. But wholeshotracing.ca. I don't know if they have gift cards. But one of the things is, though, after a certain period of time, when it comes to the motorcycle, you've already got everything you need. You can also always buy more stuff. But yeah, paying for some maintenance on the bike would be nice. Or gas or that kind of stuff. That's cool. Mosquito says, I'd rather pick up the tab for dinner for a bunch of friends and have to consider what they'd want as a present. That's fine. I like that idea. Just a small group of friends get together and, hey, it's on me kind of thing. That's not bad. Especially when it comes to friends, it's tough to buy for friends. Unless you're buying gag gifts. It's tough to buy meaningful things for friends. I know the ladies out there are going to say, no, it's not. But for guys, yeah, it really is. It can be stressful. Why add more stress to the holiday season? There's just no Sly. I love Home Depot. Yes, she does. In the story I posted on the Loop, someone said, great idea for kids or people who have to travel. Is cash, I guess he's saying. A great gift is something you know the recipient wants but doesn't want to buy for themselves. One of the things, though, is, and this is a secret for all of you folks out there, this is a good gift idea. If you're stuck for a gift idea for somebody that they wouldn't buy themselves, it sounds odd, but if they are a drinker, if they like alcohol, whatever price range you can afford of a good scotch or a good whiskey, because that's something they might not buy themselves, but they'd appreciate, and they'd appreciate for a long period of time too, unless you're my parents, in which case they'd be gone by the end of the day. But sorry, Mom. But that's something that if it's for a friend, they might appreciate, like a good $50 bottle of scotch that they wouldn't normally buy themselves, a brand that they might not try themselves. Mosquito, my dad was a watchmaker. That means I need to know how to fix a few things just to flip in the bird after the fact. Yeah, dude, you got issues. Later on the show, we're going to talk about this cool little off-camera flash for your iPhone called Nova. NovaPhotos.com if you want to check it out ahead of time. We're also going to talk, that's going to be in our starting point photography segment. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King, joined on our phone by our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
Hello?
Hello, you there?
I'm here.
You're just screwing with me again, aren't you? You haven't done that in a while.
I know.
And that's a good thing, by the way. I just want to let you know it's a good thing that you don't screw with me very much anymore.
Well, no.
So we saw the news posted up on The Loop, among other places, that iOS devices accounted for 78% of CyberMonday mobile sales this past Monday. And the assumption has got to be, Jim, don't you think that's going to continue throughout the entire holiday buying season?
Well, yeah, I think that's a pretty good sign of what's happening, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I kind of summed up my thoughts on that in the post, and that I think it comes down to confidence. You know, I really think that
that's an interesting point that you made in the post on loopinsight.com. Expand on that for me.
Well, I think that when people feel confident with the product, like they do with iOS devices, they just tend to kind of pick it up and go with it,
yeah.
You know? And you don't see that with a lot of other devices and types of devices. And I mean, for me, that's kind of where Apple excels. You know, they do instill that type of confidence in their products.
Yeah, I don't think I looked at it from that point of view, that you have confidence and faith in Apple, and therefore that extends to, well, if this device, if I have confidence in this device, that extends into my shopping experience. It's interesting that you would think that the two would go hand in hand in such a way.
Yeah.
See, I think it's more along the lines of, and these are complete suppositions on my part. You know, there's the old line that iPhone users, iPad users, iOS device users are overall, big picture, they simply have more money than Android users. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I think that's been shown before too. But just because you have more money, that doesn't mean that you'll spend it on a mobile device.
No.
You know, it may mean that you'll stop off at a store and buy something. But yeah, I mean, they have the money. They feel confident in using the money on the device, and I think that's where it really comes down to for me.
The other aspect of it too is that people who are willing, they have the money, they're willing to spend $600, whatever it is, on this device, whereas a lot of Android users are only spending free or $99 for the device. But they're also more willing to spend money, even if it was even if the average income of Android users and iOS users were equivalent. It also seems, from what I've understood from other things I've read, that the iOS device users are simply more willing to spend money. You know, we look at the amount of money spent on apps on the iTunes store, on games in the iTunes store, versus the same kinds of apps and games, for example, on the Android stores. We've heard all kinds of developers tell us in numerous posts that, hey, my game, my app, my whatever makes X numbers of times more money on iOS than it does on Android.
That's right.
So it seems that
Yeah, and
the other reason why is that even if income were equal, for whatever reason, iPhone users are just more willing to spend more money.
well, I mean, maybe Android users don't really trust the security of the devices, and figure, no, I'm not going to do this. So I don't know. I don't know what the reason is. I mean, Android users that I talk to, they say that they do spend money. So who knows? I know that I certainly spent some money on CyberMonday. I mean, not a lot.
Yeah.
But I did. It was easier to go shopping online on the iPhone than it was to go to a store.
But that being said, I got to assume the vast majority of people who have iPhones also have a computer, a laptop, a desktop. Wouldn't it be even easier to shop on the desktop as opposed to the small screen of an iPhone?
Well, I mean, I guess a lot of it depends on how the apps are built.
Yeah.
A lot of times on the iPhone, it's pretty easy to go shopping and spend some cash. And if you look at apps, I mean, I don't shop that often on my iPhone, but if you look at apps like Google Shopping, which clearly is not the same thing that we're talking about, but that app is amazing in how easy it lets you purchase things. And you just go in and you just start touching things, and boom, they show up at your door.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta love that.
See, I find this fascinating, if only because I have never once ever in my iOS owning life ever bought something on an iOS device. Now, I'll pay for an app on the device, but I won't go to Amazon.com. I won't go to eBay. I won't go to even Apple's website and buy something online on my phone. I might do some research. I might be standing in line or in a store and do some research on it, but I would not ever, ever, ever hit that buy button on my phone. And I guess I'm an outlier. I think part of it is that I'm generally on public Wi-Fi. I don't trust public Wi-Fi to do secure communications like that. Plus, for me, I'm such an impulse buyer that it's so easy for me to sit there and go, blah, 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 blah. So I have to condition myself to not buy things, just in general. But so I don't allow myself to buy things on my phone. I don't key in a credit card on my phone. There's no credit card data on my phone or anything else like that.
Well, maybe you should use an Android device.
Yeah, exactly. Because at least then my lack of willpower would be stopped by the device itself. That's right. But yeah, I find this really interesting. This survey that's come out. A lot of folks have commented on it. Our friend Ben Bajarin over at techpinions.com has an article about this too. But he also makes the point that the vast majority of online shopping is still done via the PC. Don't misread these headlines, folks, when it says Apple's iOS devices accounted for 78% of Cyber Monday mobile sales, not Cyber Monday sales overall. There's still, I think it's only about a quarter of online sales are being done via mobile devices. The vast majority of them are still being done by PCs.
I was just going to say, I mean, you may find that mobile sales only account for 20% of total online sales, but of that 20%, you have a big number that are iOS.
Now, Ben made the interesting point that's only true in Canada and the U.S., primarily the U.S. Elsewhere, especially in Asia, it's the exact opposite because people generally often don't have a home computer, and they are doing a lot of their communication, shopping, web browsing on a mobile device. So it's interesting that he says that in Asia, it's the exact opposite. The vast majority of sales that are done online are done on mobile devices. Yeah,
and that makes sense.
Yeah, but I hadn't thought of it. I did know that. Sure, a lot of folks in Asia and other places are using mobile devices more than they are laptops or desktops. but I hadn't then extrapolated that to mean that meant that they were also buying things on those mobile devices to do it. I hadn't put two and two together.
Well, I mean, you could. It's like all numbers. We've said this before.
Yeah.
You can take numbers and spin them however you want,
Yeah.
and make them sound good or bad. And you can throw in different scenarios. You can do all kinds of different things to make it sound the way that you want. So, if you just take the straight up numbers, and I mean, we could never figure out why.
Yeah.
But we can hypothesize, and there's my big word for the day.
Get your day. You got your word of the day calendar out this week, did you?
This week's show is brought to you by the letter H.
I love, not love, but these sort of tempest in a teapot things that pop up every now and then. And it's funny that you posted this on the Loop. The App Store rule even Apple ignores, and you posted a link to Marco Arment's rant about this, and you say Marco nailed this one. Folks, what happened, I didn't even notice it because I'm in Canada, I didn't get it, but Apple sent out a push notification in support of World AIDS Day, and the App Store said, get great apps and help Red fight AIDS. And you would have thought that Apple had said, go kick puppies. The internet lost their frickin' minds over this.
Maybe it's because it has to do with Bono again. I don't know.
Exactly.
I think collectively the internet got together and crashed his bike for him. But
is it really that big of a deal? I mean, come on.
It's not that big of a deal until you look at what Apple is doing with like widgets. It's taking the apps and telling them, no, you can't do that. Yeah. It's telling them, no, you can't do, this type of advertising with your app because it'll ruin the experience. And then Apple goes ahead and does it.
But Apple's always done that.
It doesn't matter what the cause is. I purchased a Red app in support of the day. So I think everybody is doing their part. But if that's the case, if Apple is doing this because it's important to Apple, what's to stop a developer from saying, well, diabetes is important to me, or foot fungus is important to me, so I'm going to send out this thing asking people for donations to the Foot Fungus Society. You can't. You can't. They can do it on their website. They can do the apps. They can do music. They can do anything they want, but you can't break your own rules and tell developers, no, you can't.
But Apple they break their own rules all the time. This is not a surprise.
But I think that's part of it, though, isn't it? And I agree. Marco nailed it. You can't do it. You can't do it.
I don't know if Marco nailed it as opposed to Marco whining about it.
No, I don't think so.
I think he's whining about it. I think he's, first of all, there's the splitting of the hairs of saying that this wasn't an app doing this. This was the App Store doing this. And maybe that's Apple's justification for this, is that the App Store really isn't an app, so to speak. It's an integral part of the OS. So maybe that's the way Apple is looking at it.
Well, maybe, but it was still an app. I mean, do I care? Really? I mean, did it keep me up at night? No.
Yeah.
But is it a good point? Absolutely. Yeah, because this one happens to be important to Apple. But I bet that there are a lot of other foundations, organizations that developers would love to be able to get a message out to donate.
Absolutely.
And they can't, because Apple would come down on them like a ton of bricks.
I think one of the things is that Apple knows that if Apple did allow this kind of thing, it would get abused by any number of developers. One of the things that Apple can do is, this is a one-time thing. I think this is the only example I know of where Apple has pushed this kind of notification to people. I think that's the other problem with it too, is that it seems so churlish for people to whine and complain about Apple trying to do a good thing. Even if it does break the rules, you've got to accept the fact that this is a good thing that Apple does this. And it's not like they did it a bunch of times. It was a one-time thing that you scroll away and it goes away. It takes 1.7 seconds of your life to read this and get rid of it.
I understand that. But what happens if every developer did it for every app? That's the point. Apple put in the rules of the App Store itself that you are not allowed to do this. And product red comes and Apple does it.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Well,
that's just not right.
Mo in the IRC chat room makes a good point. He says, in my notional brick and mortar store, I get to put signs up. You don't.
I don't understand.
Well, if I own a store and let you, Jim, sell things in my store, I'm allowed to put signs up in my own store attracting my customers. You're not allowed to come into my store and put up signs.
Okay.
That's acceptable.
Then make the rule very clear. This rule applies to every developer in the world except us. And then there's no problem.
I think it's pretty clear already. If it wasn't clear before, it's certainly clear now.
It's definitely clear now. There's no doubt about that.
Exactly. It's absolutely clear now. But again, it's not a surprise. Apple breaks their own rules all the time. And the perfect example was when Steve Jobs was alive and they lost their mind over boobies, and yet the Sports Illustrated app was in the App Store. They're constantly hypocritical like this. This should come as no surprise to anybody that Apple is hypocritical.
Well, there are a lot of these things that happen that I just don't care about. I really don't. And I honestly don't even really care about this. But it is a valid point. And you cannot, as much as you don't care about it, as much as you may think it doesn't matter, you can't ignore what happened and that they did it. Is it a good cause? Yes. Does Bono suck balls? Yes. But
wow, are you jumping on the Bono hate bandwagon too?
I haven't. I've said before, I haven't liked Bono since he got all crazy and this is going back years. I haven't liked Bono.
Well, see, that's the problem is you pay attention to Bono.
Well, I don't anymore, but all of a sudden he shows up on my iPhone. So I am apparently one of the few that thought that was a good idea by Apple to do that. So
I'm with you. I think we talked about it when it happened. I thought it was a good idea, just poorly implemented.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with, and this is something maybe we should leave, by the way, we didn't do an Amplified this morning, folks, but we are going to do it on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Rolling Stone said that was the #1 album of 2014. Do you agree with that statement from Rolling Stone? Sorry, Billboard magazine. No, was it Rolling Stone? One of the two.
Well, it doesn't matter who it was. I mean, you could have asked me for the '1 album. I would have told you too, because they gave away so many.
But
and technically they were paid for.
Yeah. Bono said that they weren't doing it for free. They got paid for it. Do you have a problem with that being the #1 album because it was simply given away?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. So do I.
I mean, it's like saying that Samsung has the #1 phone, but they have 2-for-1 deals all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not.
No.
How many did you actually sell?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. It's like Amazon coming out and saying, "Oh, we sold 20% more than what we did last year." 20% of what?
Yeah.
And I posted about Amazon today too, where Bezos is defending Amazon not making any profit. I think Bezos is a very smart man. He had to be to grow Amazon to where it is now.
Yep.
He has to be even smarter to get all this money and not be able to report any profit. Amazon is a great company. It's got a great brand. They promise delivery. They deliver. I mean, they have products. They deliver. It's wonderful. But the criticism is well-founded.
Sure.
They should be criticized.
I think the point
what would happen if Tim Cook all of a sudden said, "Yeah, you know what? We sold 50% more iPhones than what we ever had."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you any numbers though.
That's right. Exactly. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many. That's the thing that ticks me off about the whole Amazon thing is, and it for me, from the point of view, for me is as I'm usually angry at the media, it's the media falling in line with the Amazon PR. Whereas you will once every 3 months we see media outlets reporting the fact that Amazon has said they've sold more Kindles than they ever have before with no numbers. That's just a complete bullshit story and shouldn't be written by anybody.
But they do.
They do. On a regular basis. Yeah, the criticism is definitely well-founded, but it seems to fall on deaf ears from a point of view of shareholders in Wall Street, doesn't it? I mean, it's still considered to be a successful company, even though they don't make a dime.
Not anymore. I think that it's starting to really hit because investors, they want their cookies.
Yeah, but I mean, by that metric, I'm a successful company because I don't make any damn money either. You posted on the Loop about Apple's Eddie Q talks about the ebook price fixing case. You think this was a PR spin by Eddie?
I don't know about PR spin. I mean, it's basically all done now. There's no need for PR spin at this point. But I said, if you look back, I said all along that, everybody settled except for Apple in this ebook thing. Yep. And I think that Eddie and Tim believe they are right. And that's why they're fighting this so much.
Yeah.
Because they're still fighting it. I mean, in this Fortune article, they're still fighting it.
Yep.
I think because they believe they're right, whether they're right or wrong, they believe they're right, and they're going to fight it to the bitter end.
One of the interesting things in the Fortune article, a statement that I want to get your thoughts on, it says, "This is the stain on its reputation that Apple hopes the appeals court will wash away." Is this a stain on Apple's reputation?
No.
No, not even a little bit, is it? I mean, the vast majority of people don't even know about this story.
I think it's a stain on the reputation of whatever morons brought the case against them and left Amazon alone.
I think one of the problems that people have with this case is they don't see the bigger picture, that from a strictly legal point of view, yes, perhaps Apple was fixing prices, but so was Amazon. And Amazon isn't getting...
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
How can they let Amazon go doing all the things that they do, fighting with publishers? I mean, publicly fighting with publishers and cutting them off and doing all this stuff, using their influence and power and their position in the market to influence pricing. And then, the government turns around and goes after Apple.
Yeah.
Now, like Eddie said in the story, did some book prices go up? Yes, but a lot more went down. This is going to happen. This stuff is gonna happen. There's no way around it. So I don't know. It boggles the mind to think that they leave Amazon out of it. And if you don't want to go after Amazon, then don't go after anybody.
Yeah, but I think one of the points of view from the legal perspective, from the lawyers involved in this on the government side, is there was so much damning evidence from Steve Jobs himself. The emails he said where he said, we're okay with prices going up. That in the long run, this is a good thing, but in the short run, prices will go up, and that's what you guys want anyway. I think that's part of the problem, is that maybe there wasn't that evidence that Amazon was doing this intentionally. There was evidence for Apple doing this intentionally. I think they thought they could win this case against Apple, well, they didn't think they could win the case against Amazon.
Well, that's unfortunate because...
Oh, absolutely.
Say what you want about Steve, but he was a pretty direct guy.
Yep.
So.
And I'd prefer Steve Jobs' way of doing business than Jeff Bezos' way of doing business.
Sure.
Because if nothing else, I mean, how many independent or even not independent bookstores have we seen fail in the last 15 years? And it's hard to find. I remember when I came back to Vancouver, I drove downtown intentionally to see if McLeod's Books was still there. McLeod's Books is a famous bookstore here in Vancouver. It's on the level of a Powell's in Portland, but it's got that same sort of cachet in the community. It's a used bookstore. It's, if you've watched X-Files, it's been on almost every TV show that's shot in Vancouver, and it's a typical grungy, dingy little secondhand used bookstore. And I would go in there and blow hours and hours and find books that you didn't think you wanted, but I'd come out there with a stack of books. I remember driving downtown thinking, please still be there. Please still be there. Please. And it was. I was so happy. I was so happy that McLeod's was still there, because most of them aren't. Most independent bookstores are no longer around, and that can be laid directly at the feet of both the internet and Amazon.
Well, it's one thing to blame Amazon for this, but is this one of these progressions that would have happened anyway? I think so.
Because
it's unfortunate. Because the internet, because of progress and technology, people, devices. I mean, it's part of progress. It would have happened anyway. It is very unfortunate, especially for people like you that read so much and you read, these old-fashioned things. What are they called? Books. So that's very, very unfortunate for you. But yes, I agree. It's good that there are some still around.
You posted I don't think it's fair, by the way, that you get to curse in the loop, but Dave and I don't. I think it's just unfair.
It's totally unfair, but that's not going to change.
I know. I just wanted to say that. You posted a story about Google Plus. Do you use Google Plus?
No, I'm on Google Plus.
Yeah.
I haven't been there for a year or two, but
I use Google Plus sparingly, if ever. I use it to post. I'll post. I'm using this app called Buffer, bufferapp.com, and what it does is it allows me to post simultaneously to a bunch of different social media sites. So I've set it up so that my Buffer posts go out to Facebook, to Twitter, and Google Plus. Now, once a week, Buffer sends me a stats on how many things I've posted through Buffer, how many clicks I've gotten through Buffer, how many comments I've gotten, how many retweets, all that kind of stuff. And so Buffer goes out to all three: Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus. I never get any response at all from Google Plus, from anybody ever. And I've been doing this for the last 6 months now. Not a single comment, not a single retweet, not a single repost of any kind, when I get dozens and dozens and dozens of all that stuff through Twitter and Facebook. Google Plus is dead.
Well, that's because you've pissed off almost everybody in the world on Facebook and Twitter. I mean, I even think the Pope hates you, man. I mean,
well, yeah, I don't like Catholics, so that would explain it.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, I think the article that you posted on the Loop, thoughts on Google Plus, from a guy named Chris Messina, who used to work at Google Plus, who was actually one of the developers of Google Plus, was really interesting. And
it was bigger than just Google Plus. I mean, he had a lot of great points in there that were beyond, the whole Google Plus thing. But it was kind of funny that, even he didn't understand Google Plus, and he's the UX designer.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like that Google has no idea what to do with Google Plus. They don't seem to understand their own direction of it, if it even has a direction. I don't know if it's too late for Google Plus now, but I think it is. I don't think it's ever going to be any kind of competition for any other social media platform, let alone Twitter and Facebook. Twitter and Facebook are the 8,000-pound gorillas of social media right now.
It's like he brought up, though, you have Google Plus coming out with polls. Well, Facebook did that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So this to me sounds a lot like Microsoft chasing Apple. They're so far behind that they're just not going to catch up.
No.
And that's what it seems like Google Plus to me is that I think the only thing that they really like about that Google likes about this is that for the people that use it, they are collecting a lot of information.
Yeah, yeah.
And we all know that's Google's thing, get as much information as possible and serve up those ads.
Yeah. The thing for me about Google Plus is I'm wary of, or I was wary of pronouncing it dead because I don't use it. I try not to extrapolate that. So I started to go on a more regular basis, and I don't see anybody that I follow, that I know, using it on a regular basis. Maybe some people are. Maybe, folks, if you're in the audience listening now, on air, yourmaclifeshow.com, tell us if you use Google Plus on any kind of daily or even weekly basis. Do you post Google Plus, or do you just consume Google Plus? I think I use other social media, obviously Twitter and Facebook, a lot more, but certainly even things like Flipboard and Instagram and that kind of stuff, much, much more than I would ever even consider using Google Plus.
Well, I mean, there's the question: do you consume Google Plus? Do you use Google Plus?
Yeah.
Do you even know the address to Google Plus?
Exactly. Exactly. No kidding. Folks, we're talking to Jim Dalrymple from The Loop. The Loop magazine got posted up on Monday. Another issue of the magazine. You can check it out on the iTunes store, or go to loopinsight.com and check it out for yourself. I love that graphic for the iTunes Festival. Who did that graphic for you, Jim? Hello?
Who does what? Who does what?
Who did the graphic on the cover of the Loop magazine?
Oh, Eva and Giselle.
Okay. I just wanted to, because it's a hilarious picture of is reported by iTunes Festival, is reported by The Beard.
Yeah, Eva does all of the covers. If you look back in the magazine, she does them all.
Oh, okay.
From about issue 4, I think. I got Eva, and she's done some tremendous work.
Yeah, that one in particular, I think is really good. So. Check it out, folks. Loopinsight.com. Do a search for the Loop magazine, or go to the iTunes store and search for the Loop magazine. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., Jim will be back, and we'll be doing Amplified. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
See ya. Bye. Boop, boop. Sorry, I should have turned the volume down first and then hang up on Jim. I got to get those two things right. I did it in the wrong order. I hung up on Jim and then did the thing, and never mind. Again, as always, emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Do you have any comments about anything that Jim and I talked about, or anything that you would like to discuss? onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. I was wondering where he was. I just got an email from Brian Monroe. Says he's sorry he'll not be able to watch the show live tonight. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. But it's funny. You see people over and over again in the IRC chat room or on Twitter or on Facebook. When they aren't there, it's like, where are they? I hope everything's okay. So, Brian, thanks very much for letting me know that you're okay. We were talking before about cash gifts, whether or not you were going to give gift cards for the holiday season, or whether you're going to give cash to some folks, or whether you even like gift cards. I was saying before, there's some places, for example, I know Sly goes to Starbucks every single morning. I mean, I always get her name wrong, but that's a whole different story. But if you were a friend of Sly, you could buy her a Starbucks gift card. I think she might enjoy that. It's something that you might not want to buy yourself. I don't like using Starbucks gift cards for myself, the Starbucks app. If only because I'm always wary of giving Starbucks an interest-free loan of my money. That's basically what it is that when you load your Starbucks gift card with $20, you're loaning Starbucks $20. I'm not giving you any money off that. And they're making money off it. So for some folks, like Sly, a gift card to Starbucks might be okay. A gift card to Kohl's or JCPenney or Sears here in Canada, not so much. I don't think that'd be a very good idea. I think it depends on the gift card. I think it depends on the person and whether or not you're giving the gift card because you're freaking lazy, or whether you're giving the gift card because you really honestly believe that person would appreciate it, would like it, would use it. Because one of the problems with gift cards is, I think I saw a stat, there's something along the lines of $3 billion in gift cards lying in drawers never to be used. because the gift card got lost, or it's to a store you're never going to shop at, or there's only $2 left in the gift card and you can't be bothered. So you just throw it in your wallet or throw it in the glove compartment or throw it in the junk drawer in the kitchen. So that's one of the problems with gift cards, that people tend not to use them. But it's tough. I mean, as we get older, it gets harder and harder to buy gifts for family and friends that are interesting and original and meaningful. And yeah, I know gift cards for the most part aren't all that meaningful. I think that's part of the problem, is that they can seem to be antiseptic. They can seem to be like you're not trying, like you're lazy. And I understand that. I get that. I get why people. Lucas says, I don't get gift cards. You're basically exchanging real money for fake money that can only be used in one store. You're intentionally making your money worth less if you buy gift cards. I think not giving an actual pre-selected physical gift is a good idea, but if you go that route, just give cash. I think cash is worse, though, isn't it? I mean, for some people like me, I've always said, if you want to give me cash, give me cash. That's fine. I've been poor my entire life. I can always use cash. I can always use $10, $20, $50. That's breakfast, lunch, gas money. That's not a problem. But a lot of folks, completely understandably, wouldn't want cash. And you certainly wouldn't want cash from a significant other. Unless it was a significant amount of cash. If somebody was going to give you like $10,000, a maiden aunt wanted to help you with your down payment on your house, or someone wanted to give you $5,000 to go on vacation, you'd take that. $10? No, screw that. $10,000? Give me some of that. Isn't that funny? People who say, I don't want cash for Christmas, but if someone gave you enough cash, yeah, you wouldn't turn it down. You wouldn't turn it down, would you? Scott Faulkner, I prefer universal gift cards. What's a universal gift card? Well, they're the ones with pictures of prime ministers, the queen, or former presidents on them. Good anywhere, and they never expire. Cash. Absolutely cash. Regan says, I use maybe half the gift cards I receive. The ones I don't use, that I keep receiving, are for brick and mortar stores. Yeah, so, if you know somebody who likes to shop on Amazon.com gift cards might be good. Or if you know someone who likes books, a gift card to Chapters here in Canada, or whatever passes for a national book chain in the U.S. I think there can be a time and place for gift cards. Especially, like I said, as it gets harder to shop for people as we all get older. Moving on to our starting point photography segment. One of the things I've always said in the class and whenever I'm talking to beginning photographers, one of the concepts of photography that we don't, as beginners, don't seem to really think about enough is all photography is taking a picture of light, right? No such thing as a picture of dark. Every photo you see is a picture of the light reflecting off of that object. Keep that in mind when you're taking any kind of picture. One of the keys to becoming a better photographer is learning to see light. I know we see light all the time, but really looking at and for light is hugely important and is guaranteed to make your photography better. If you start looking for the subtle gradations of light and shadow and reflections and projections and morning light versus afternoon light versus evening light versus moonlight versus street light, it's all about light. Dave D says, I want a camera that sees light the way I do. Can't happen, Dave D. Something else to talk about in the class. The best camera you're ever going to have, the best camera lens you're ever going to have is your eyeballs. The best sensor you're ever going to have is your brain. Mankind will never make a camera that's as good as those two things. That's one of the problems beginners have, is that we see light, we take a picture, we look at the picture and go, that's not even close. Well, it's because your camera isn't as good a camera as your eyes and brain are. The best you can ever hope to do is get an approximation of that in the camera and then tweak in software. So one of the things is, I tell the class, one of the problems that we have as beginning photographers in particular is there is no such thing as a good on-camera flash. So that little tiny itty-bitty flash that you see right there on the iPhone, crap. Not complete crap, but often crap. And if only because it's so bright, it's so glaring. Yeah, Apple talks about true flash and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't really work. Even on a point-and-shoot camera. There's the lens element on one side, and the flash is right there. It's not going to be very good. It's a little tiny, itty-bitty, harsh flashlight. That's why you see so many professional photographers will have that flash on top of the camera. You want to get the light as far away from the lens as you can. That's the key. When your lens and your light are this close, and it's a harsh light to begin with, it's going to be a harsh light on the photograph. So you'll see pros will have a lens on top of the camera, and that, sorry, not a lens, but a light on top of the camera, and that light moves around. They can angle it. And then you'll see if you've ever been to a photo shoot, they'll have lights all over the place. There might not even be a light on top of the camera. They'll have strobes over here, and they'll have softboxes over there, and they'll have a key light down here, and then they'll have 5, 10, 15 different lights to control the light in different ways. Well, as beginners, we can't do that. We're not going to set up that kind of stuff. As iPhone users, we're not going to do that. But this company called Nova Photos, novaphotos.com is the website, have come up with this really clever little idea. And what it is this little thing. You can see how small that is. Little tiny thing. Here's an iPhone 5, and there's the size comparison between the two. And now they say you can put it in your wallet, but I wouldn't put it in my wallet because you'd sit on it and you'd break it. It's a off-camera, Bluetooth-controlled flash for your iPhone. It's really kind of a neat little thing that you can use as a flash, off-camera flash for your iPhone. So it's not just a flash. It is also the ability to control the light too, and that is where, to me, this becomes really interesting. Let me just show this to you. I'm going to pull up so novaphotos.com is the website that you want to go check out. I'm going to show you how this works right here on the screen, so you folks who are watching the video will be able to follow along with me. Just pull the app up on my iPhone, and then pull this up on... Come on. Waiting for QuickTime to realize that it's awake and doing this. Come on, QuickTime. You're not gonna, when I tested you out this afternoon, QuickTime, you worked fine. What's your problem now? Oh, you kidding me? Mosquito says, how diffuse is the thing's light, Shawn? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get QuickTime. All right, let me quit out of QuickTime. See if I can't bring it back up. It's connected. QuickTime, come on. QuickTime, new movie. There's FaceTime, QuickTime, iPhone 5S. Boom, do it. Come on. Oh, there we go. Finally. Things work in rehearsal and they don't work. So here is the user interface for the Nova app. So you can see there's my happy smiling face. And you have these icons across the top. It says off, gentle, warm, neutral, bright, and custom. And so what you do is you select, so I'm going to select gentle. You'll see down here in the lower right-hand corner that lightning bolt with the check mark. That means that it has pulled it up via Bluetooth. Okay? So, now I'm going to show it to you via the video, the magic of video. Hopefully this will work. So you guys can now see on the video right here, that's the Nova Flash. So I'm going to test this out. I push the test button, and there's the flash. Now that's set for the gentle light. I'm going to try the warm light. Doesn't seem to make any difference, does it? Mostly that's because it's facing the camera. I'm going to turn it around. I just wanted to show you guys the light. I'm going to turn it around and flash it on myself. And this way you'll get a better idea of how this works. I got to go through the right setting. Okay. So now again, I'm going to do the same thing. I choose gentle and then test. Look at the difference on the video of how that filled in the light. I'll do it with warm. See how much brighter that is? There's the gentle. There's warm. Here's natural. And here is bright. Bright. You know, bright. There we go. That's bright. Then the other neat thing is you can use these sliders. You see these sliders on the right hand on the center of the screen to change the kind of light you want it to be. So if you've got a particular way of getting this light, you can do it. You can use it like that. I'll go back to the full screen version. And so you'll see what kind of difference this makes with the light. Not much there, is it? Very subtle, just kind of a fill light with that one. With the warm light, it gives it more of a orangey kind of glow. The natural light, it gives you quite a bit of brightness. And then at the full setting of the brightness, you get the full pull. So it's kind of a neat little device for taking photos of things. The downside of it, there's two downsides that I've found. One is that you have to hold this while you're shooting with your iPhone. And that's kind of tough sometimes. You look at your iPhone and you're trying to shape the light with this thing. Now this is not going to work at a soccer stadium when you're trying to get a picture of the guy. It's not going to work. It's going to work with things mostly that are within arm's reach. So keep that in mind. Maybe 5 feet away, 6 feet away. That's max. But what it allows you to do is to get the shadow away from where it is. So for example, you want to do it under someone's face. Or there's a light coming from the right-hand side and you want to fill it in on the left-hand side. So you can play around with movement. But it is kind of kludgy to hold this and your iPhone at the same time. What you can do is, a lot of people forget that your volume button on your phone also takes pictures. So when you click the volume down, trying to see if this works on the doesn't work on the Nova app. Interesting. I didn't realize that when I was testing this before. The volume button doesn't work on the Nova app. So it's even more kludgy now. You've got to hit the Nova app's shutter button and hold this at the same time. It also only works in the Nova app. There's a couple other apps it works in, but it doesn't work in the camera app. It doesn't work in Snapseed or Instagram or those kinds of things. Now, they have an SDK. Maybe developers will get on board with this at some point in the future, but right now it only works with the Nova camera app. The other downside is the light comes on. So I'll turn the light on. You can see that the light comes on, but watch what happens. It goes off after a few seconds. So it's kind of tough to hold it in the right position and get it just set up just right, turn it on, and then when you try to take the picture, if you don't take the picture right away, the flash goes off. So if you had a way of mounting this, whether it be to a small little tripod or some other sort of method that allows you to angle this, it might become more useful. Right now, I could see it being very useful if you gave it to somebody. So you're taking a picture of someone in a dark restaurant or a dark bar. You could hand this to them, ask them to hold it down below below the camera's eye line, and use it to give fill flash. Have them hold it over to the side. Have them hold it over the top. Or to have another friend hold it if you want to take a picture of an object, your meal, whatever it might be. Mosquito says, bounce the light off your back wall. I don't think it's strong enough to do that, but that would only get the back of my head, too. It wouldn't work for my face. So again, it's novaphotos.com is the website. They got a video there that you can use, and there's a lot of examples of how they are suggesting folks could use the Nova app. I like it. It's a little expensive at $60. It's not cheap. This is definitely a gift you want to give to someone for Christmas who is serious about taking pictures, who really wants to be able to take better pictures using the app and using the flash, because it is not cheap. Certainly note about that. $60 is not cheap. Now, I heard from a little birdie that there will be a future version of it, software-wise, that will allow you to keep the flash on and also allow you to control more than one Nova flash, because it'd be kind of neat, wouldn't it, to be able to have, you're in a dark bar, you could have two Nova flashes filling in the light here. It's nice. It's feels fairly solid. I've been carrying around on the motorcycle with me for the last few days. Feels well put together. It feels smooth. It's got a nice plastic feel to it. There's no seam. The other downside of it is the non-standard cable. So you've got yet one more cable you got to lug around with you when you want to charge things in. Now, you only charge this thing overnight. I've been using it for a while now and haven't needed to charge it up while I'm traveling. Now, if you could turn it on and leave it on, yeah, maybe then you would probably have to find a way to plug this cable into things. So it's a minor inconvenience. USB cable. It's not a Thunderbolt cable. It looks small enough to be lightning cable. It looks small enough to be lightning, but it's in fact not a lightning cable. But it's a cool little device. Again, novaphotos.com if you wanted to check it out. Mosquito says, looks like a nice little idea for close-up pictures. Yeah, absolutely. So, if you want it, you can see on the website how they use it for taking portrait shots and for macro shots and for shots like this. It's not lighting up a room. It's not the kind of device you're going to use to take big pictures. But for close-up shots, it looks like it could be real handy. Let's go to emails, folks. As always, send me emails to onair@yourmaclife.com. Appreciate that. Oh, yeah, that's. I saw this on Twitter. Someone was saying that they didn't celebrate Thanksgiving in the UK, but that sadly the UK is starting to not celebrate, but be affected by Black Friday with all the idiocy that goes along with Black Friday. You couldn't get me, on pain of death, to go to a store on Black Friday. Anytime, let alone at 4 a.m. We know if you pay attention and think enough about it, the vast majority of Black Friday sales, not really sales. Now, I'll admit, I did do online shopping a little bit this past weekend, but there was no way I was going into a physical store. I've never heard, found, seen, thought of a deal good enough to get me to go to the insanity of a Black Friday. How about you guys? Did anyone in the audience go to a Black Friday? What did you get? How much money did you save? Was it worth it? We had friends last, I think it was my last year that's right, my last year in Portland. A friend of Dr. E is Peruvian, and she had just become an American citizen. And her husband was, I don't know where her husband was from, he was American. But the Peruvian lady, I want to say her name was Sarah, but that's not right. Sarah had heard about this Black Friday stuff, and she wanted to go and experience it. And she'd found a deal on Best Buy. They were looking for a new HD TV, and they found a deal on Best Buy, and they were going to go. And we were all saying, no, Sarah, don't go. She said, well, it's America. So off they went at like 4 a.m. to go line up at the local Best Buy. And that night they came back over to Dr. E's house for dinner that evening. And poor Sarah was almost in tears. Apparently, the Black Friday experience was so awful for her, with the pushing and the shoving and the yelling and the arguing and the all of it. They didn't even buy the TV they wanted. I think they'd run out of the TV that they wanted. Couldn't find another TV they wanted. So it was a complete waste of time overall. But it was a traumatic experience for the poor girl. And I got to believe it's got to be traumatic for everybody. The other thing I asked on Twitter, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this too. I was surprised to see someone say on Twitter that now that Thanksgiving was over, and this was like on Friday, they were going out this past weekend to get and put up their Christmas tree. And that was last weekend. How many of you guys put your Christmas tree up Thanksgiving weekend? American Thanksgiving weekend. And is your tree real or is it fake? Our tree always went up we always went up the week of December 15th, but never after December 15th. So we always had to make sure we got the tree before December 15th and it got raised, lifted, installed, whatever the word is, before December 15th, depending on my mom's mood. And we were never allowed to put stuff on we could all put our one favorite ornament on the tree. And then my mother decorated the tree. Because she was one of those people that had to put everything in the exact right spot. You know, if she had a theme that year, say it would be red and green balls, they had to alternate. A red ball and a green ball and a red ball and a green ball. And they had to be in certain spaces and they had to be equidistant away from each other. And my mother, you know that the silvery stuff, the tinsel you put on trees? My mother would drape each individual strand over it separately, lovingly. It would take Mom like 3 hours to get the Christmas tree with the lights and the bulbs and oh my God. And we weren't allowed to help. We just sat there and watched Mom do it. They're a beautiful tree. I'll give Mom that. It was a beautiful tree. And it was always a real tree. I will not allow a fake tree in my house. I think fake trees are an abomination before man and God. I think fake trees should be, at least here in Canada, fake trees should be banned. Because if nothing else, it's Canada. 90% of the country is Christmas trees. We have more Christmas trees than people. You don't need a fake tree in Canada. Okay, if you're in Miami, go ahead and get a pink tree. If you're in Southern California, get a silver tree. I don't care. But if you're in Canada, you got to get a real frickin' tree. Nova Scotia, I think, is the second leading provider of Christmas trees behind British Columbia. So I live in the two places that have the most Christmas trees in Canada. You know, Nova Scotia exports its trees to the United States. We make so many of them. We grow so many of them. So yeah, I don't think fake trees should be even be allowed. P. Boo says I put my outside lights on Friday last week. Mosquito says we put up a string of lights a couple of years ago to decorate the entrance. I never took them down. Oh God, you're so lazy. I've never put lights on the outside of the house, and I've never put lights anywhere but on the tree. But yeah, for me, the tree always goes up December 15th. And it's a real tree. Although, how I'm going to get a real tree home on the motorcycle this year, I don't know. Does Amazon deliver real trees? I'll either not have a tree or have a real tree. If I can't have a real tree, I won't have a tree. As simple as that. I just will refuse to have a tree. So when do you put your tree up? It's now December 3rd. We're now in that time frame. Ours always went up the 15th, real, and came down January 2nd. Mom always said it had to be through the week after Christmas and through New Year's. You couldn't throw anything out on New Year's Day because it's bad luck. I don't know why. But yeah, they always went out on January 2nd. So Jason Painter says, I love the idea of Thanksgiving with the bounty of food and those specific dishes. I'd love to eat one. We don't have an equivalent holiday in Australia, but Christmas serves as a feast. Jason, you say the bounty of food and those specific dishes, I'd love to eat one. Which, if you have Christmas feast in Australia, what foods do you eat? Don't you eat the same sort of foods that we do in North America? The turkey and the ham and the potatoes and carrots and peas and stuff? Are there particular Australian foods? I want to say roast kangaroo, but that's stupid. What foods do Australians eat that are different than what we would eat here in North America? I don't mean exotic fruits and things like that, but the usual meal type stuff. Apparently, Norfolk Island is part of the Commonwealth of Australia, observes Thanksgiving. Thanks very much for that. And I didn't even realize this, Jason, but you're right, I do. He says, you tell the story of Thanksgiving as a youth with your mother cooking for days for the whole family every year, but I enjoy hearing it each time. Thanks, Jason. Hank, I have an iPhone 5S with iOS 8.1.1 installed. Text messaging last week when I was composing. It gave me 3 suggestions of what I was trying to type on the pain-in-the-ass small keyboard. This week, the effect has gone away. What happened? Oh, no. Oh, no, Mr. Bill. Hank, I know exactly what the problem is. Let me see if I can't replicate it on my screen for you. Aha, I can. So let me pull up a non-offensive. So, Hank, here is what the problem is. Watch iMessage or QuickTime going to do this to me again, aren't you? What is wrong with you, QuickTime? Okay. So what you do, Hank, is you open up any text app. For example, I'm going to use Messages. And when you click in the message window, bring this up full screen for you. Right there on the bottom, I've started typing, local desktop. I've started typing, but you'll notice there's no suggestions popping up. Well, the reason is if you look at the video, Hank, and right there, that white line It's that white line's fault. Let me get that out of the way. You go away. Underneath that white line, that's the reason why you can't see the text suggestions. What you have to do is touch that white line, tap that white line. There we go. If you just tap up on that white line, it pops up. So what's happened is at some point, you've accidentally touched that. So if you wanted to get rid of the text suggestions, just tap there and scroll down and pull down. See how that's coming back and going away? So that's how you get rid of that stuff. Or sorry, how you get rid of it and or bring it back is by doing that. So Hank, believe me, I had the same problem. So I understand your issues. Okay. There's a photography question. Why is the 24-70 Nikon lens, f2.8, so costly in spite of being a zoom lens? This is from, where's it from? Don Martin. Don. The reason is build quality, Don. I have that lens. It's a $2,000 lens. It's an expensive lens. Nikon also makes a 1885 version of that lens, which is maybe $500. And if you ever held those two lenses side by side or together, you'll know immediately the difference. The 24-70 lens is made out of metal. It's much, much heavier. The elements inside of it, all of them, the lens elements, the glass, the mechanism, all that stuff on the inside of it is of a higher build quality than the 1835 lens or 1885 lens that's made out of plastic. The lenses might not be as good. They might not be as optically perfect as a more expensive lens. And as MacMan points out, it's also because it's a constant f2.8. Anytime you have a constant lens, what that means is that it's zoomed in or zoomed all the way out in either end of its range. You can get f2.8 on both ends of it. You'll often see lenses that say f3.5 to f5.6. That means when it's all the way in, it's f3.5, but all the way out, the best you can do is f5.6 or 8 or whatever it might be. So if it's a constant aperture lens, it has to be a higher quality lens. There's all kinds of technical reasons why, but just trust me, that's the reason why. Better build quality, made out of metal, better glass, just better all the way around. A perfect example is the Nifty 50, that if you have a Canon or if you have a Nikon, you can buy the Nifty 50 lens for $100, $120, depending on your when you pick it up. And it's an f1.8 lens, 1.8 lens, 1.8. I think it's an f1.8. There we go, MacMan. I paid $110-ish for my 50 1.8. It's called a Nifty 50. It's a cheap lens, a plastic lens, a small little lens, but it's a 50mm lens. It's great for that kind of shooting. The 50mm f1.4, which sounds like it's only 0.4 for difference, can be upwards of $500. And you think it's the same lens, but it's not. Better build quality, better glass, better aperture, better, all the way along the line. So that's the difference. Just because the numbers on the lens, the zoom of a lens is the same as another lens, doesn't mean it's going to be the same price. It's all about build quality. Canon, Nikon, Olympus, all those guys will make lenses that are the equivalent number-wise, but vastly different price-wise, and almost all the time, the price difference is because of build quality. So keep that in mind when you're looking at lenses. You can often find a lens that's got the same numbers on it as some other lens, and you'll wonder, why is this one so much more expensive? And that's why. It's going to be more expensive because that's just the way it is. Just the way those things happen. I'm trying to figure out an analogy in the computer world, but there really isn't. Almost always a more expensive lens is a better lens from the point of view of a build quality example. That it can take more punishment. It can, I'm not saying you can drop it, but it can take more jostling and all that kind of stuff. MacMan says, yeah, fantastic lens. Yeah, if you've got any DSLR, I got to assume they're all the same. Nikon, Canon, Olympus. There's a lens going to be called the Nifty 50. It's a 50 millimeter lens, generally a 1.8, that is fun to shoot with because it changes the way you have to use it, and it's a good learning tool for beginning photographers. I carry mine around with me everywhere. It's like I said, as he said, it's 110, maybe 120 bucks worth of lens, but it's in my bag wherever I go because it's fun shooting with a 50 millimeter lens, prime lens. So check that out if you get a chance. I'm checking to see if there's any more late emails. Nope, that's not an email. Gary Apter writes, my parents put up a tree early after Thanksgiving and it came down soon after Christmas Day. I don't bother, no interest. Interesting. How many folks take the Christmas tree down the day after Christmas? Our version of Boxing Day here in Canada. Ours always stayed up till New Year's. Always, always, always. Because that was the display area. That was the area where all the presents went. The presents had to stay under the tree for the entire week after Christmas, too. You can play the present, but the box, and when you put it away, it had to get put away back in the box, back underneath the tree, whenever you wanted to play with it for us kids. So. Email me to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. As always, you guys know I love hearing about your Christmases and how you guys celebrate Christmas and things that are different from the way I celebrated Christmas back home in Nova Scotia. That's it for tonight's show. I want to say thanks very much to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. If you want to hear more from Jim, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'll be second banana to Jim on Amplified. You can go to 5by5.tv/amplified. Or follow Jim or me or 5by5 on Twitter, and we'll let you know exactly when the show starts up on Amplified. And as always, thank you guys very much for joining us, whether you're tuned in live or via the IRC. Thanks to all the folks in the IRC chat room, including our IRC babe, Sly. Thank you guys very much for being tuned in. If you're listening to the archive, as always, I appreciate all the listeners who are tuned in any way that you guys possibly can. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!